Hello there, this is Cridical from Cridical Media, just taking a look at the hardcover release of Uzumaki by Junji and released by Viz Media. And what we usually do at this channel is give you an idea of what to expect if you ever come across these books in the wild. So we go over the exterior, some bonus material, art and plot points, and then a brief review at the end. Now this one, I've wanted to do this video for so long. For some of you, you may have seen this book on the channel before. And I've always mentioned this one is usually among my favorites of Ito's work, period. But anywho, at least before I get into the nitty-gritties of it all, yes, at least in terms of the exterior, you'll notice it has the red, white, and black aesthetic. And you just heard me refer to it as a white clad because, at least with Viz Media, they released Tomi and Gil in a very similar fashion. But I always often refer to them as the white clad since, yeah, it does have a prominent cover with the negative image from one of the stories. That's Medusa there. But I call them the white clads mainly because of their spines, because they're very prominent and they often have a very unique kind of aesthetic to them. Like each one has a symbol representing the story. Perfect that this one's a spiral, hence its name, hence the curse. And yes, just a little brief synopsis on the end. And it is a pretty meaty book, that's for sure. So pretty awesome in that light. Now, in terms of bonus material, admittedly, yeah, maybe there are some, color splashes on the bookends here, so definitely worthy of looking at for the line work. Gorgeous, actually. Some of Ito's best work, actually, you're going to get in this series. Awesome sauce there. And unlike many Ito books where, most of the time if there is a bonus story, it's just bonus stories or whatever, like bonus material or whatnot. But in this case, not so much bonus stories, but just this little afterword, as usual, a tongue-in-cheek little manga of Ito just explaining his rationale behind the story. But as mentioned, it's more comedic because he always uses his editor as a foil in it. But yeah, it's somewhat serious, somewhat not. You get a little hint of what he was getting at here. It's entertaining enough, let's just put it that way. But yes, now at least to the meat and potatoes, the art and plot points. What makes Uzumaki unique is, unlike Tomi, where that's an anthology series, and a lot of those story collections you can also look at that way, more so horror anthologies. This one is probably the best union of an anthology series while being still a linear narrative. So it does have like a linear thread throughout. So that's why I appreciate that they're actually chaptered out, with the exception to the final one, Lost Chapter. The only reason why is because apparently they just forgot to print it earlier in the series because the events take place much earlier around this section, but nonetheless. But you'll see what I mean, where, yeah, it just starts off very humble here with, of course, Kirie Goshima. And that's another thing. There's really two main characters you can focus on. Kirie and her boyfriend, Shuichi Saito. Since those are pretty much the two vehicles overall for the story, or how you see this curse constantly reimagine itself. And it's pretty much on this town here, Kurotsucho, and she's basically just, yeah, the narrator of all these like weird events that happen. And it does start off very humble. She's just, yeah, on her way to school or whatever, as usual. And it starts off with this very humble scenario where she notices Shuichi's father is just obsessing in their alley, their neighbors, essentially. And yeah, he just becomes more and more obsessed to the point where, yeah, he starts asking for like these little renderings of spirals by like in-town artists. Even Kirie's father, who's like a, sorry, forgive me, I forget the term, but he works with ceramics, essentially. And in that respect, yeah, it just gets worse and worse the more he obsesses over it, to the point where it starts even taking him over, her father over, almost in a way. It's pretty hectic. But right off the bat, you're given this idea that this story, it will keep going. Like you'll keep building and building, even to the point where, yeah, well, at least this isn't really a spoiler since it happens at the beginning. But yeah, Shuichi's father, the same man, basically dies, and when he gets cremated, is this ultra creepy cloud in the sky. Very, very trippy art. Some of Ito's finest work, as mentioned. You're probably going to get some of his best work overall in this series. But yeah, it just bleeds right into the next story where now the wife, or should I say Shuichi's mother, now she's being affected by it. And you're kind of seeing this body horror kind of art. And that's another thing. This story deals with like so many different hemispheres of horror. Sure, there's the body horror. Sure, there's like this psychological drama aspect to it. Yeah, I like how it keeps reinventing itself. Yeah, this one here where it's oh, forgive me, this one's called Scar. You might see a lot of the imagery or promotional art centered around this story. But yeah, it's pretty awesome how one bleeds into the other. So because of that, I'm not going to go too heavy on each story here, but maybe just point out some of my favorites. And probably one of the most notable is this one, Medusa. You may have actually seen this image, or should I say this story, in other Ito releases. But yeah, as the name suggests, and as the title, or should I say the cover even suggests, yeah, it's just about how, yeah, Kyrie, her hair starts to curl. It starts even defying gravity. It even starts taking on a life of its own. Starts to like hurt people, or should I say start to like suffocate them. It's pretty trippy. And to the point where they become like slaves to their own hair. It's kind of crazy in that sense. Pretty damn sweet, especially the way that one ends. But because of that story, you're kind of getting a sense of, time passage and all that, these characters are adapting to the scenario, as mentioned. Basically, because of those events, Kyrie pretty much sports a short hair look throughout the rest of the series. And it fits, to be honest. I like how, yeah, as mentioned, it just seems to work every time. All the decisions Ito makes here. The way her brother reacts, the way her boyfriend reacts to things. It's pretty damn sweet. Now, as mentioned, I'm just really highlighting some of my favorites here. So yeah, the Black Lighthouse, love this one to death. This one in particular, basically all of a sudden people are noticing that the lighthouse is operating a little too nicely lately. The light that shines from it is way too bright. It's starting to like even zombify people. And it kind of has this Lost Boys aspect where they're the young boys of the town, just they can't help themselves. They want to investigate it. And when they do, they don't get really a welcome surprise. Let's just put it that way. But in that light, one thing I love about this one is that it kind of sets up the sense of gravity to the story. That even young kids aren't safe from this thing. It goes after everyone. It's pretty damn trippy. And it leads into this next story here, Mosquitoes, as mentioned, because of the whole linear aspect of it. Even the events of this, Kyrie is in the hospital, and that's where the next one takes place. All these mosquitoes just come in. They happen to invade the maternity ward where her cousin is, Kiko. And yeah, you're just seeing how creepy this curse gets. It just starts infecting all these pregnant ladies. They start going crazy. Leads into the next one, the umbilical cord, where now the babies themselves, their umbilical cords they just keep growing back, and wouldn't you know it, end up curling up into spirals. Pretty trippy ending, I'll say. It's kind of disgusting, but nonetheless, there's a lot of very trippy art or very horrific kind of aspects to this overall narrative. It's awesome. I like how there are characters where they can kind of have like a zombie aspect, still be compassionate trying to fight against it, but you just can't. That's kind of the beauty of horror when you do it the right way. But nonetheless, basically at this point I'm just going to do just some of the best images in this, like the ones that haunted my dreams forever. Like, man, so damn trippy. For real, this one's like one of the first ones for me. But yes, even this one here where it finally introduces a character, Chie, this reporter from out of town who's wanted to come to town to do a story on what the heck is going on here. And it just immediately rushes her right into the whole curse. The fact that, through this character, you get a sense that you can't escape it. Even she tried to go back the way she came through the same tunnel, and it just never leads anywhere. You can't see the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. So it's just getting more and more desperate, more and more hopeless as the story progresses. So damn good. I love the sense of dread that Ito can build up, man. Like, so good. Yeah, even to the point where the town that, as you kind of saw, was getting more and more dilapidated, just gets reformed into, wouldn't you know it, another spiral. Just super trippy. And some of the imagery and the way these buildings are built, you'll be like, whoa, damn, Ito, you really thought of that. Man, so damn good. But probably one of the final images, I'm not going to really talk about what it is, but it's probably one of the most gorgeous shots you're going to see, only because it's near the end and it's pretty heavy to the narrative. But I've always found that this is so damn well realized. Like, the sense of atmosphere and the fact that you can actually follow where objects are, you can kind of get the geography of it all. definitely appreciate the way this one goes down. It's weirdly like beautiful and at the same time horrific. So I guess that's like the chord that Ito was going for here, but majestic. I absolutely love this image here. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Berserk, you know, during the eclipse, or even another one of Ito's works as well. Man, so damn good. Nonetheless, and anywho, I'm sorry, I almost got lost in that image myself. I guess I became one of the characters there. But it does kind of end with that lost chapter story. As mentioned, it happens much earlier in the narrative, but because I guess it's so grounded in reality, this one, yeah, I guess that's kind of why Ito didn't know where to put it initially. But it is involving the main characters like Kirie and Shuichi. So, yeah, you can still get a lot of licks out of this one. But yeah, of the Whiteclads, yeah, this one was always my favorite. To be honest, among Ito books in general, this is pretty much among like the top. If I had like a top 5 ones, yeah, this is definitely always going to get included. I think Remina will always be like the number 1 for me. That's just because of how brilliant that story is in general. But nonetheless, as usual, at this point in the video, it's always my turn to ask. It's not so much about me at this point. You know, I'm more so intrigued with, you know, your own opinions. And if you have any commentary, I wouldn't mind seeing them down below as always. Y'all folks take care and enjoy the rest of your day.